Hey yo, what is good, y'all? Malcolm McFadden, Career 615 Comics, and you are watching the Yo What Nerd podcast, and this is episode 8, bro. I made it to episode 8. Let's see how many more I make it through. But in this episode, I'm gonna just be talking about the Fantastic Four movie. This is a spoiler alert. I'll be spoiling the movie, be talking about this movie. This episode will be all about Fantastic Four, okay? So yes, I'll be reviewing the movie, give you what I think about the movie and what may happen, what I think is gonna happen in the future with MCU. But for clicks and likes and engagement, I'm gonna be doing Fantastic Four versus Superman, which one I like more, or which one I think is better, because they both just came out. And, we gotta keep this DC versus Marvel thing going. We don't really gotta keep it going, but it's gonna keep going. But so, just get into before I even get into that, sorry, please. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please like the video, comment on the video, argue with me. I'm gonna say a lot of things that y'all may not agree with, so argue with me in the comments, and also subscribe to the channel so we can continue arguing on future topics. You feel me? Who doesn't like to argue on the internet? That's why the internet was created. But like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, please. I'm getting close to 500 subscribers, and after that it's up to 1,000, and after that it's up to 1 billion. All right, so please like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends about me. Bam, done introing the show. All right, now let's get into it. Let's get into what I like to talk about. I like to talk about Fantastic Four. All right, Fantastic Four just released, and this is the brand new release from the MCU. All right, so this is taking a step towards Doomsday and also Secret Wars. All right, so we'll go into this Fantastic Four movie. And now, just to give you all a little disclaimer, I'm not a huge Fantastic Four fan. I've never really liked them. The only really thing I like about them is they got beat up by the Black Panther. But that's really about it. But yeah, I'm not too much of a Fantastic Four fan in the comics. All right, I think they're cool, but just not for me. All right, so going into this movie, it was great to go into it kind of with like fresh eyes. Like, I have no comics to relate this to. I have nothing to think about. They could have did this, or they could have did this from this. You feel me? I have nothing to think about that. I just have my basic knowledge of these characters from being a comic book fan, but not so much of a Fantastic Four fan. So I have my basic knowledge, and I just went into it. Just go into it, you feel me? And that was actually pretty nice. It's not many superhero movies that I can go into where I can just go into them, you feel me? So this one was great to do that, and I really liked it. For being a person who doesn't really care about a Fantastic Four like that, man, this movie, I really liked it. Every time I think about it, I like it more. I give this movie a solid 8, and I'll go why that it's an 8 later. But yeah, I think it's a solid 8. I think it's a very good movie. I think it's probably one of the best Marvel movies we've got in a minute. You feel me? I did like A Brand New World with Captain American Falcon, but it's still, I don't think that movie beats Fantastic Four. You feel me? But I still like the Captain American Falcon movie. But this one was really good. And now let's talk about the movie itself. To start off, this movie was set on Earth 828, and that was actually dope. At the end of the film, you find out that Jack Kirby, one of Marvel's biggest writers and creators, I believe his birthday, they showed at the end of the film, he had a quote. I believe his birthday or the day he died was 8/28, but I'm not quite sure about that. But I remember that the 8/28 has something to do with Jack Kirby. So them being on Earth 8/28, that's why they were on Earth 8/28, which was dope to me. So let me continue the story. We start off with this movie, and we start off that it's on 8/28, and it's set in like the 50s, 60s era, you feel me? So it's set in basically in the past, but it's not in the normal MCU universe, right? Which I think is dope, and we'll talk about that also later. Now, with this movie, actually, let me go to my notes so I'm not going crazy with it. But in this movie, you start off kind of very much like Superman. Actually, just like Superman. You start off where the Fantastic Four have been the Fantastic Four for 4 years. that's actually pretty cool. I didn't even think about that. Fantastic Four for 4 years. Like, yeah. Like, whereas the Superman movie, he was Superman for like 3 years. So this is a trend, I guess, start a new trend of just throwing you into it. They also did that with Spider-Man too. was throwing you into the story, and then they kind of give you their backstory within that story. You get what I'm saying? Excuse me. But I think that for those three characters, Spider-Man, even they did it with the Batman, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Fantastic Four. Each of those characters before the movies we got now, they had they had movies. We done seen the origin over and over and over again. We done seen Uncle Ben die a million times. Seen the Wings die. We done seen the rocket come to Earth. We done seen the Fantastic Four go up in space. We seen that, and I like that they kind of still gave you the origin because people still need to know the origin for people that this is their first Fantastic Four movie. They still gave you the origin, but they kind of just threw you into the Fantastic Four and how they've been heroes for 4 years. They're beloved heroes. The world loves them. You feel me? They look up to them. Reed is very much respected, and people see him as the smartest man on the planet. So there's a lot. They basically just throw you into the story, right into the thick of things, which I'm actually cool with. We can talk a little bit about that. Like I seen people like, bro, you still need to give us this origin because it helps us feel for the characters, which I do get. But this movie, I think they made you feel for the characters in different ways. But I do get not seeing origins, wanting to see the origin, especially with them being integrated into these other universes and shit like that. But I understand it. I understand it not fully showing origin story because these aren't origin movies. These is movies about the character. And I like the way that they've been doing it, even with Superman and in Fantastic Four, with how they gave their origin within the story. Like they told you how they came about, I think in Fantastic Four they did it more. They showed more than they did with Superman. But each one still gave you how they came to be, and now we're at this story, right? But I really love the fact that they brought us right into the Fantastic Four. I love that they brought us, straight into how they are heroes already, and we don't have to go through their origin and waste no time. We can go straight into it. Which I also thought, which also good because you got to see, them handling different comic book heroes and stuff like that. You got to see them fighting, comic book villains. You got to see them fight some of their characters and everything, which was really cool. Like they had a little montage of them, like saving people, being heroes, fighting villains, which was actually pretty dope. That part was great to me. But they kind of show you that they are the focal point of this world, this universe, which was great. Also, with this movie, there was not a lot of action. Like I said, they showed a little montage of them doing things. Like that was pretty much most of the action. There wasn't a lot of action in this movie. This movie was very story and character driven, and I love that. I love that. Normally, I'm an action man. Give me some fisticuffs. Give me some people giving hands. Something. You feel me? Some stretchy hands, invisible hands, fire hands, rock hands. It don't matter. Give me some hands. But I love that if you give me a good story, I don't really need the hands as much. As you give me characters I care about, want to know how this story ends for them, I don't need the hands as much. So this movie not having a lot of action was actually worked for me. But the action also wasn't bad. I love the CGI in this movie wasn't bad like other movies, but this one was actually did really good job with the action and kind of showing their powers, and in them not just using their powers just randomly. Like they had a reason where they used their powers. Like there's a part where Thing in this movie where he's kind of running through this building. He's trying to knock this building down, which I'll talk about later. But he wasn't just out there just using his strength just randomly. Like he had a reason for using his strength and knew how to use it. You feel me? And even Human Torch did that. Like that was dope. And even though they didn't show too much action, the action they did show had meaning. You feel me? Like it was a reason for that action. It wasn't just mindless action. You get me? So that was also a very dope point in the film. And I keep going back to my notes so I don't get off track and my ADHD just runs wild. But see, this is the problem. I'll be skipping things. But I want to go back to the movie being set in the past and my reason for that. All right. I think this movie was very much set in the past for a couple reasons. I'm gonna take from another creator and see what another influence in what they said. Basically, like this works for the Fantastic Four. You feel me? Like having this set in the past works for the Fantastic Four because they're zany, they're more comic booky. This kind of helps it with being set in the past, and that's kind of the vibe you get when you read Fantastic Four. So it's kind of like you're putting them in their element when you put them in the past, and I think people like that. You feel me? So, but it's also like a futuristic past, like, so they still got, like flying cars and stuff like that. Reed is figuring out time travel in this movie, not time travel, teleportation in this movie. You feel me? So it's still set in the past, but it's still kind of futuristic. But the aesthetic of it was great. I love that it was set in the past, but also one big thing, I think it was set in the past because Kevin Feige said that the Secret Wars movie is going to start one whole new timeline, right? And I think having them set in the past sets their place in the timeline, if you get what I'm saying. Sets their place in the timeline. This could be messing it up. I definitely could be wrong because, how are they going to be with the Avengers and stuff in the future? But I think this cements them in the timeline to say there was this Fantastic Four in the past. Like, this has happened. You feel me? If we're going to cement the timeline. That hasn't been something I've seen anybody say, which makes me think I could have been wrong. But I think that could have been a reason for the Fantastic Four to be set in the past. You get me? That is one thing. That's one thing I'm thinking about. We can talk about that. Talk to me in the comments. Tell me how you feel about that. But I think that's one reason this movie was set in the past. All right. But let's continue on with the movie itself. Okay. So this movie, like I said, it wasn't a lot of action. It was very much character driven and story driven. And the story itself was basically you come into the story, and from jump you find out that Sue Storm is pregnant. From jump you find out she's pregnant, and then she's having a kid, and then that basically just sets up the entire movie. The entire movie. From there, that just sets up the entire movie. Like, that's the boom, that's the A to B. You feel me? So they set that up, and then everybody else finds out. It becomes this big thing. It becomes like a family moment. That was really great, seeing them as a family. And like, you see the scene where when they first find out that Sue's pregnant, you see the scene with Thing and Human Torch, and they having their banter together, getting ready for dinner. And then Reed and Sue are late for dinner, and then Thing doesn't want to start the dinner without them. He can't start the dinner unless everybody's there, which is a very family thing. And I thought that was dope. Just making that like a family thing, showing them as a family. Those little scenes like that, like they had a bunch of little scenes like that throughout the movie that I think really solidified this is a family movie, that this Fantastic Four is a family, and you kind of see them as a family, which I think was very important for this movie. The family aspect was huge for this movie. And even with the promotion, with them saying Fantastic Four, the first Marvel's first family, even it be calling Fantastic Four First Steps, which them having a kid, and then also this being their first movie into the MCU. All right, so the family aspect of the movie is very important. I think that's why I liked it. Being a recently new father, I think a lot of things in this movie I related to on a different level. So that was pretty dope, and they really showed you the family aspect that continues throughout the movie. But you come into this movie, they have a kid and everything, right? And then the movie gets started and everything. You show little parts, but then they don't have the kid yet. But then before they actually have the kid, before they birth the kid, which was actually a pretty dope scene, before they birth the kid, Silver Surfer comes. And so what Silver Surfer does is like, Galactus is coming, you feel me? Be with your loved ones, be with the people you love, because your world is ending. He's coming to eat your world, all right? And then she says this to the Fantastic Four, of course. At that point, Reed Richards has to like figure out how to stop this. He has to figure out how to stop this, you feel me? So basically, they figure out that they need to go find Galactus. So they end up finding where Galactus is. They end up tracking Silver Surfers. Like, this movie was very smart. They did a lot of smart stuff in this movie. But Reed Richards tracks Silver Surfer and tracks where she has been, and they figure out where Galactus is, right? And then so they travel to see Galactus. Like, they can travel light speed, bro. Like, they have a whole little hub in space that they go to, and then they can that pushes them light speed. Like, they was on, like, Reed Richards was on some other stuff in this movie. Like, that man was just a genius. But, which he's a genius in the comics, but I guess he wasn't on some other stuff. He's on his normal Reed Richards stuff. But they go off and they go to Galactus, and Galactus was done great, bro. Like, Galactus doesn't do much in this movie, but he's so menacing, so huge, so terrifying, bro. Like, the way they did Galactus, man, gives me hope for, like, if they do Sentinels, and you feel me, for the X-Men, like, just these big characters, like, and this is a world-ending character. Like, they did Galactus fire. I think everybody was done fire in this movie, just to say that. But they go find Galactus. And just to speed up this review of the movie, they find Galactus. Galactus looks into Sue's stomach and is like, "Oh, your baby is super powerful. When that drink comes out, I want him. He's gonna help me so I don't have to eat plants anymore. He's gonna end this for me. You feel me? I need him because he's a cosmic, powerful being that's in your belly right now, right?" And then so Galactus tells him that, and he's like, "Bro, give me your baby and your world is safe." And of course, Sue Storm's like, "No, what? No, bro. Like, you're not taking my unborn baby. I haven't even had this joint yet. He's still feeding off of me. If you feel me, like, no, you can't have my baby." So while they're going back, so then they get away from Galactus, and while they're coming back to Earth, they have this whole thing with Silver Surfer where they lock Silver Surfer into a black hole, which gives them some time to, like, figure things out before Galactus eats their planet. And that whole scene was great because while all of that was happening, while they were trying to get away from this black hole, get away from Silver Surfer, Sue is literally having her baby, bro. And man, that scene itself was just so tough. Like, it was great. Like, you just on the edge of your seat, like, you ready to have this baby. It was intense and you felt it. And that was one thing about this movie. You felt like this was so different from other MCU movies because you felt the gravity of everything. You felt how tense it was. You kind of felt like you were in the thick of it. You feel me? So in most MCU movies, they have like these bad jokes that undercut scenes, and like nothing is really taken seriously. The villain ain't really that villainy, and you feel me? Not really that evil. So this movie did none of that. This movie let you sit in the gravity of the scene, let you feel the weight of it, and that's what I loved. But go back to the story. They have the baby, they get back to Earth, they tell the people of Earth, like, yeah, Galactus is still coming, and then Reed Richards goes into overtime to figure out how to save him. And then he comes up with a few plans that each get foiled, that even after he comes up with the final plan, they still have to call an audible, and they end up, sending Galactus, basically teleporting Galactus, basically somewhere without his ship, so it would take maybe millions and millions of years for him to even come to find them, or wherever they are, come back to Earth. So basically they just send Galactus off somewhere, and I don't know if that's how they deal with him in the comics, but they send him off somewhere, and that's how they neutralize the threat. Now, I'm skipping some things so I can talk about them in this review, but that is basically how they neutralize the threat of Galactus. All right, and that's just the movie in a speed up form, right? But there was so much in this movie, in between all of that was just so great that I want to talk about. For one, I think all the characters were done great. And just to go into them, I'll go into each of them. I think Reed Richards was great. I think they did a phenomenal job of showing this man who literally, if he's trying to figure out every problem there ever is. He's trying to figure out how he can stop it, how he can save lives. Like, they did a great job of showing that type of character. And even like, I liked how you can see his wheels moving. Like, you can see his wheel moving. Like, that was great acting. I always mess up his name. The main actor, we're just gonna call him Reed Richards. My man's from everything. Man's was Max Lord in the Wonder Woman movie. But he's been in everything, but he did a great job as Reed Richards. And one thing I want to talk about is the scene that really stuck with me. There was a scene where he basically, after Galactus says, "I want your baby," and he's trying to figure everything out, him and Sue have a scene that is very powerful and my favorite scene of the movie. They get into an argument because he basically says, like, the option of giving the baby up, Reed Richards says the option of giving the baby up will be easy. It's logical. It's right there in front of you. And then Sue takes offense to that, like, bro, just giving up my baby is easy, logical. Giving up our baby is easy and logical. And then Reed's like, that's what I do. I go through all the options. Well, no, Sue says, no, he tells her that he isn't really thinking about that he was want to do that. And then she says, no, I know you thought about it. I know you went through this in your head. And then she's basically like, she's not blaming him, but she's like, you being you hurts me. Like, you doing these things hurts me. And that was a very real scene, because that's who Reed is. Like, that's who he is. He tries to figure out the problems, but in doing that, you kind of close yourself off to people, or offend people, stuff like that. I've seen stuff like that in real life with super smart people who don't like connect on those certain areas, you feel me? But that was a really big scene, like, as a father, like, and then seeing Sue as a mother, like, this is not an option, and Reed has, like, I have to think about it as an option, you feel me? Like, that was great, just the character work, who those characters are, and then that clashing in a real life way. Like, these comic book characters clashing in a real life way was so great to me. Like, that killed it for me. That was one of the best scenes in the movie, just seeing them go through that, right? And then just to go to Sue's character in the movie, she was I seen somebody post this. They did a great job of Sue being stubborn and tough, but no, for being strong-willed but not stubborn. Like, she still was willing to listen, still was willing to go with the plans and stuff like that. But because there was a scene where they basically, like, they had to use the baby as bait, and Sue knew that they had to, but she was so mad she went invisible and just went away from everybody. Side note, how they were using her invisibility powers the entire film. Throughout the entire film was fire. Throughout the entire film, how did she was just using powers, popping up on people, moving things and stuff like that. She was using her powers in little ways the entire movie that was just spectacular. Oh my God, Sue was fire. And of course she stole the day with her pushing Galactus into the teleporter, which was great and powerful, bro. It showed like that mom, that parent urgency, like, no, you're not taking my kid. Like, you've seen things where people have like lifted cars and stuff like that in real life, you feel me? And that was that. Like, she pushed herself to the limit where she died in the film. She literally dies. And of course it's spoiler, so I'm guessing all y'all done seen it already. So she pushed herself so much to push Galactus, and I've seen people like, how is she that powerful, man? I get that. I don't care, bro. That is a mom. They got a different type of strength, different type of endurance. They can do things that you don't think they should be able to for their child, and that was powerful, bro. And then her just pushing, and then the weight of the intensity of the scene, like, you felt it when she died and Reed was crying. I felt that. I was like, dang, if that was my wife, damn, what would I do? Like, that joint was crazy, bro. Like, her using all her strength, all her power to save her baby and push Galactus away from her baby. That was such a powerful scene. And just the speech she gave, I'm not gonna tell you, the speech was dope. It would have fell short for me if I was in the crowd. Like, I don't give nothing about your baby. Like, let's save the world. You feel me? Like, but that'll just be me if I was in that moment. I feel like other people that was in that moment probably was thinking the same thing. But her speech to the people also was good, getting the people on board, and the fact that I'll talk more into their effect on the whole world a little bit later. But you really showed the respect that people had. They really showed the respect people had for the Fantastic Four, which was dope. Sue was a great character, but she was the star of the movie in my opinion. She was the star. But let's move on to The Thing. Now, The Thing, I love that they didn't go through the whole that he already is accepting that he's a rock person, you feel me? That he didn't go through the whole depression of being a rock person, but you can still see that it still affects him, you feel me? But I think with Thing, they did a great job with him, but I feel like his scenes were cut. Like, he had a whole love interest that seemingly went nowhere. Like, it seemed like they had a few interactions here or there. I thought they was gonna have more interactions, but they didn't. They didn't have a lot of interactions. They didn't even have a kiss or nothing. They kind of just went nowhere. So I feel like a lot of that was cut from the movie, which I don't get why. I think that could have made it better, but Ben Grimm was still a very dope character in the movie. You still felt for him. You still felt for everybody, and they had their place in the film, and that was great. All right. And also, like I said, with Ben Grimm, like with him using his powers, and it wasn't just him just randomly using his powers. No, he used his powers in ways that needed to be. You feel me? Like with him, when there was a part where Sue was basically trying to push Galactus out, and he was holding on to a building, and then literally the Thing breaks the beams of this building so it can't stand up no more. He just runs through them, and then Galactus falls. Like, that was fire. Them showing him using his powers in a meaningful way was dope. But I think Ben Grimm got a lot cut from the movie. I think a lot was cut from him. which I didn't like. But maybe they'll come out with a director's cut or something like that. But let's move on to Human Torch, because I love this Human Torch. I loved it, bro. They did so much good with him. They gave him a side story that made sense in the movie, but him also, they used his powers in a very dope way. I love the scene where he flies into the building on fire. He just soaks in all the flames. That was fire. He was a very dope character throughout the movie. But the part that made him really dope was the fact they didn't just make him dumb. Like, you gotta remember, this man's still an astronaut. You feel me? So they didn't just make him dumb. Like, he still was like his playboy self a little bit. Not really a playboy, but he's still kind of his playboy self. He was a big part of the film. So there's a part where Silver Surfer speaks in her native language to Johnny, and Johnny figures out what that language is, because they have trackers, they have like satellites finding languages from other planets and stuff like that, finding people on other planets and hearing them and stuff like that. So they have these different messages and stuff from outer space, and then Johnny goes through all these messages, kind of tries to decipher. Oh, I'm missing a part, because when they went to go see Galactus, he asked Silver Surfer what that term meant, and then she told him. So he used that as a reference to kind of figure out what these languages were saying and what her language was. You feel me? So he did all this research that got that down to it and figured out where she was from, what planet she was from, and he used that later in the movie to help to make kind of Silver Surfer feel for them and kind of connect with Silver Surfer, which then Silver Surfer ends up being the last punch to push Galactus through the gate. Which also, I wanted to add this in there, that Human Torch was ready to sacrifice himself for everybody. And then I saw another creator say this. He said that in the comics, Human Torch sacrifices himself, and then that's when they bring in Spider-Man and stuff like that to the Fantastic Four. That's what he said. I remember Spider-Man becoming a Fantastic Four. I don't remember why, so that you can fact check him, but that's what he said, and he said that would have been dope if they did that. But you see Silver Surfer stop him, and then Silver Surfer knocks Galactus into the time traveling thing. You feel me? Not time traveling, knocks him into the teleporter to send him away. But I think just giving Johnny Storm that whole side story that made sense, and giving him something really to do and have a way part of the movie, and not just with the family aspect and him being the Human Torch. Like, he did something spectacular, which was really dope in the movie. Also, if we go on to characters, Galactus, like I said, he was done great. Also, Silver Surfer, I thought was done great. I don't really know the backstory to the female Silver Surfer. I don't know if they did that right, but the story I saw in the movie, I loved that. I saw people complaining for the movie about a female Silver Surfer. Don't really know why that actually matters, but whatever. She did great. She was great in the movie. Yeah, so there was so many very dope things about this movie. The more I think about it, like just with Fantastic Four themselves and who they are and how they were well respected. So in the movie with Reed, when he comes back and he figures out, and there was little bits, just to bring this back, there were little bits in this movie that brought things together. And just one little teaser that they did, a couple teasers that they did. One teaser, they were talking to the world, and they had all the world leaders, and Latveria, I could be saying that wrong, the country that Doom is from, Doom's country. Literally, all the world leaders were there, but Latveria didn't have a seat. Like, it had a seat, but somebody was missing. So, like, that was a little dope Easter egg they put in it. They also put in it, Reed mentions multiverses. He mentions different Earths and everything. Very small, but he mentions that. And I thought that was going to be something that happens at the end, but it's not. But also with that happens, I think around the same scene, he also was working on teleport. You feel me? And that was a little part they had at the beginning of the movie. That's close to the start of the movie that came back. So Reed Richards' plan was to teleport the Earth to somewhere new, to a different solar system, so Galactus couldn't find them. And then it was like, how are we going to do this? So he basically got the whole world behind him to build these bridges. Like, people took off work, people stopped working and everything. Like, the whole world stopped to do this for the Fantastic Four because they asked. And I got that. That made sense to me because they've been set up that the world respects the Fantastic Four. They put that throughout the entire movie, that the world loves the Fantastic Four. You feel me? So they loved when they found out they were having a kid. Like people love to see them on TV. You feel me? They love to talk about. They are the celebrities in their universe. You feel me? So when everybody comes together to make this arc, like that made so much sense that they would do this and try to teleport to Earth. Like that made sense. Then the Silver Surfer just trashed that. And then they were just going to use one teleporter to teleport Galactus at the end, which I love that they had plans, and the plans kept getting foiled. So they had to pull a Audible, pull a Peyton Manning, and just go with something totally different, something they weren't even thinking, that ended up with Sue losing her life. I think that was great. Also, Mole Man was a highlight. Like I said, sometimes these movies have forced comedy. Mole Man was definitely there for comedy, but it made sense. And it was good comedy. And I wish he was in the movie more. When you had him in the movie, like the heroes all kind of really shined and like really started interacting with him. Like when he was interacting with everybody, like every interaction he had with the heroes was great. It was great seeing Mole Man interact with them. But Mole Man was a dope part of the movie, and I have to eat my words on this. In one of these videos somewhere, I said, I don't like cities being evacuated. I don't like this whole city's being evacuated. It takes away from the gravity of the scene, the intensity, the urgency. This is the one time that they did it right, and they set it up. They set up the evacuation of the city early on with Mole Man, and how Mole Man had a whole society underground. You feel me? Like he had Subterranean, I think it was called. Like he had a whole place underground, and they was like, okay, we need to evacuate the city because Galactus is coming. He's gonna be walking through this city. He's gonna be stomping on all these buildings, and like they made sense. They set it up. Like I have to eat my words. But also I'm gonna eat my words because that scene where Galactus comes and there's still no people, there's still so much gravity to it because the people are under the city and they feel his steps. Like this, they feel his steps deep under the city. Like that's crazy. Like they still had urgency to it, intensity to it, and plus the baby was the bait, so it definitely still had that sense of urgency with it. So I'll eat my words. I'll say that. I'll eat my words. That they did the evacuating of the city right, but still, they set it up and they did it well, which was dope. And that adds into Mole Man being there, which was very cool to me. I like that. But yeah, like this movie really just had everything except for action, more action. I think that's all it didn't do for real. I think more action in the movie could have just been 10 out of 10, but that was it. Just not enough action. But the action they did have was great. I love when Darkseid stretched Mr. Fantastic out like he was a little Laffy Taffy. Like that joint was fire. I love when they were fighting Galactus and it was like they weren't really having no effect until Sue had to like push him, which was just pushing him. Like it wasn't really harming him. They were just pushing him. Like even though he lost, like the man, it still took so much for this man to actually take an L. Like Galactus was fire. All right. And I'm kind of, I want to get my notes back and so I know what I'm talking about. But I think that's everything I basically had to say. This movie was very good. Like just having the like I keep saying, like the gravity, it was intense. I felt the weight of the movie. It let me sit with the characters long enough. Let me like the characters. Let me worry about the characters. It was a very good movie. And as a person who doesn't normally like MCU movies like that, I thoroughly enjoyed this. And the more I think about it, the more I enjoyed it. All right, and it was very good. It was very good movie. So like I said, 8 out of 10, Fantastic Four was great. Also, last point, the mid-credit scene, bro, the mid-credit scene with Doom, man, that was fire. Like you don't even see much. You see, back it up. And also, let's talk about some more things I want to talk about. Let's talk about Franklin Richards. Now, if you don't know who Franklin Richards is, I'm gonna just tell y'all, he's probably the most OP character in Marvel. This man, if he can think it, he can do it. He can basically warp reality, teleport. I'm serious. Anything this man can do, he can do it. So I want y'all to look up his list of powers. Like Franklin Richards. I don't know if y'all understand what is happening to the MCU right now, they literally have the most powerful being. This is Mr. Dr. Manhattan as a baby, basically. Like when you see him bring Sue Storm to life, bro, like in that he's a baby and he still brought his mom back to life. I don't even know if he knew he did that. Like imagine when he gets older. Like I'm telling you, man, and especially with that end credit scene with Doom, we basically just see the back of Doom. He has his mask off and the baby's kind of touching it. Like, is the baby healing his face? Like, what's going on with that? But I think this baby is going to be, I think this is no brainer. I think this baby is going to be how Doom starts off Secret Wars. I think this baby will have a lot to do with Secret Wars and how he brings these timelines together. Because he's that powerful. He's that powerful, bro. Like, the man creates universes just because he can. Like, he can create universes just off a whim. Like, that's what he does, bro. So I think Franklin will be a big part in Doctor Doom taking over and bringing the MCU all together. You feel me? And that Doctor Doom end credit scene was fire. Mid credit scene, the end credit scene was trash. They need to stop doing that. Bro, like, no. If people are staying and waiting, they're wasting their time. Wait for all these credits, give them something worthwhile. Like that, the Doom scene could have been at the very end, and the one that was very end could have been at the middle. If I'm gonna sit there and wait, give me something to wait for. Like end credit scenes used to actually mean something, bro. Like if we're sitting there waiting, giving us something that it means something. It doesn't have to go to a new movie in the future, but at least have it mean something, have it be good, not stupid. The middle one with Doom was great. The last one, stupid. Didn't even need to stay for that. But let's get into the clickbaits, rage baiting. Let's get into the bait of it all. Let's get into Superman versus Fantastic Four. Now, if you watch both of my reviews already, if you watch this Fantastic Four and watch Superman, you already know which one I like more, which is weird. Fantastic Four is easily the better movie to me. I think easily. I think they're not even close. I see a lot of people, comparing them. I don't think they're close. And I can give you my reasons. Superman, you very little feel the gravity. You very little feel the intensity of the movie. You very little feel anything that's actually happened. There was literally a whole scene where Lex was playing Russian roulette and you barely feel anything through that scene. You feel me? I think that the Fantastic Four made you feel for every character, where Superman had a whole bunch of characters that were kind of just there and didn't have no purpose. Where Fantastic Four had every character basically had a purpose. Like if you saw them many times on the screen, there was a reason you saw them, and the things they were doing, there was a reason you saw them doing those things. Like there wasn't like Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner, like they were just kind of in the movie. Like there was nobody in Fantastic Four that I felt was just in the movie, right? Also the comedy, nobody was made to look dumber for comedic relief in Fantastic Four, where I feel like that happened easily with Superman. For example, Mr. Terrific's garage door scene. Why does that make sense that Mr. Terrific, who's the best inventors in the DC universe, hasn't fixed his garage yet? And this is the garage that goes to his flying ship. That is how he would get to a place if there was danger. You get what I'm saying? So why wouldn't he have that fixed? And why do you have to make him seem dumber just for that comedic relief? You feel me? That was a point, and that never happens in Fantastic Four. I feel like everybody was made to be smart and intelligent and mature and just better characters than they were in Superman. You feel me? And also, I have to eat my words on the 2-hour runtime, because this is Fantastic Four was a 2-hour runtime that I think I didn't need more afterwards. Most time when you do comic book movies and you're only 2 hours, I feel like I need more that y'all didn't do enough. I didn't feel like I need that from Fantastic Four. Only thing I felt maybe I could have used more of was Ben Grimm and his love interest. That's all that I could need more of, and maybe some action. But the 2 hours, it worked. I was good with that. I'm good with 2 hours I got. You feel me? And I feel like Superman, I needed a lot more for that movie. You get me? Also, Superman had a lot more action. I think the action in Superman was pretty cool. I think one of my problems with Superman is a lot of action that you saw in the movie, you saw in trailers. And that also, some of that with Fantastic Four too. A lot of things you saw in trailers as far as the action, minus galactic scenes. But like I think Superman had a lot more action and good action, whereas Fantastic Four had good action, but it was less. It wasn't a lot of action. I wish I could have had a little bit more, but like I keep saying, the movie itself was fine. It not having action maybe made the movie a little better. Who knows? I think with action it could have been more, but that's neither here nor there right now. The villain. I think Galactus was easily better villain than Lex. The more I keep thinking about Lex, the things Lex did, the more it's like, bro, like, were you really a genius, or did you just really do some smart shit in the movie? Like, because how they fooled your plan, some of the things you did with your plan, and your whole reason for your plan didn't really make sense for the things he was doing and things that were happening. Where I feel as Galactus, it made sense. He's a world eater. He doesn't want to eat worlds no more, and this baby could stop him from eating worlds. It's a very simple premise, but it made sense, and it made sense for the characters, and it made sense for Reed Richards, who's the smartest man on the planet. How is the smartest man on the planet figure out this earth eating god? You feel me? But overall, I just think that the Superman movie wasn't as good as Fantastic Four. I think both movies did a good job of planning you in this universe with these characters, and you see this universe. But I think once that happens, the movies become a little different. Like, you step me into a world with Fantastic Four 4 years in, where they're respected by the globe. The world loves them. And then we step into a Superman movie where I really felt like even his girl didn't respect him. Like, I really felt like nobody in that movie really respected Superman. For example, Fantastic Four asked the entire world to quit your job, stop doing this, stop doing that, and build these bridges. Everybody did it. Superman had full Fantastic Four. I think I might have said Superman, but Fantastic Four asked everybody to stop what they're doing and help the world, and they did. Superman, they put out a message that, people were saying that the media said was real, and everybody instantly just turned against him. Instantly forgot everything that he did for them. They didn't respect him enough to give Superman a benefit of the doubt, it seems like, in the movie. And it seems like the other heroes didn't respect him enough, besides Mr. Terrific, to go and help him and jump and help him. Like, this is Superman we're talking about here. I just feel the Fantastic Four movie set up for these heroes to be like the pinnacle, the peak, like kind of what Superman normally is, but like, especially being 3 years into being Superman, like, I just felt like these heroes were way more respected than Superman was, which is crazy to me. But like I said, overall, I think that also both of them had a black hole scene. Like, these movies, they had very similar parts. The Fantastic Four black hole scene pushes the Superman scene out the water, and both of them have a baby to do with it. But it's like the Superman scene wasn't as impactful, wasn't as intense, didn't hit as hard as the Fantastic Four scene. And how they even got out of the black hole, how they slingshot themselves out of the black hole, was fire. Like, it was just dope. Like, Superman also using his freeze breath to push himself and everybody else. I'm not saying that wasn't dope. That just was not the Fantastic Four. But like, these movies had a lot of similarities, and I think when you do the similarities, like if you put them side by side, like if you did, like for basketball, points per game, rebounds per game, this I feel like the green is mostly with Fantastic Four. I feel like they're winning that matchup with these things. Everything that Superman did, that Fantastic Four did, I feel like Fantastic Four won easily. But that's how I feel about it, bro. Like, this is basically the end of the whole Fantastic Four review. But like I said, I love the Fantastic Four. I thought it was a great movie. It was really dope. I think that was definitely a good step for Marvel in the right direction, especially with some of their movies being, and some just their content in general being, you feel me? So I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. And this is the first time I was really, really hyped for what is to come with the Avengers and the whole storyline. Like, this is the first time they really pushed that joint, bro. And I love that. I think that was dope. Also, to compare Superman and Fantastic Four, I think Fantastic Four did a better job of setting up the future than Superman did. Easily. I think it's no-brainer here. But that is my full review on the Fantastic Four movie. If there's anything I forgot to say, I'll just put it on my TikTok. But that's my full review of the Fantastic Four movie. Also, please go watch my review of the Superman movie. I believe that is 2 podcast episodes back, so maybe episode 6. But yeah, please go check that out. And please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, comment, argue with me. If you think Superman was better, if you hated Fantastic Four, argue with me. Let's argue about it. Then I want you to subscribe so we can argue some more. We shouldn't just stop arguing at this video. Let's argue on the next and 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 the next. All right. Or we can just, vibe, come together and be like, yeah, we both like this, sharing our interests. You feel me? But I want to thank y'all for watching. Like I said, tell your friends about me, like, comment, and subscribe. But thank y'all for watching another episode of Yo a Nerd. And tell me what y'all think about the new Fantastic Four movie. Let's have a conversation. Peace.